As far as contests and evaluations go, I'm most comfortable with the UILC and CR system that we have here in Texas. I've participated in that quite a bit. I've judged quite a bit through TMAA, so that's kind of what I'm most familiar with, but I have gone around and judged in other states on occasion, and I find it fascinating, some of the differences that they have in philosophy and rules and all that stuff, and it's kind of cool, and I've enjoyed those experiences. Also here in Texas, I've been invited to judge at a couple of TAPS competitions, and they have slightly different rules too, and I think that's really interesting the way they do things, and I've always enjoyed my experiences there. But for right now, I'm going to kind of speak to what I know as far as contest preparation, and I think it's important that we understand how these contests and evaluations integrate into our value system as a teacher, and how do these integrate into our systems and our students' values that we're trying to build. So going in, I think it's important to think about some things, maybe to ask a few questions. For instance, what should a student be able to do at this particular contest or evaluation? How are they going to assess your student's performance? And what's the overall goal? Is it just about accountability? Is it about reaching an ideal? Is it about striving for perfection? Like, what are we trying to achieve by going to this, and how are you going to prepare your students? A good way to be successful, at least from a perspective of what kind of score or rating you would like to receive, it's good to understand the rules of the contest or evaluation that you're going into, and it's probably a good idea to try to adapt to those rules. And your whole year probably doesn't focus around these sorts of events, right? You do all kinds of stuff throughout the year, but you've got this like 8-week period where you're preparing for concert and sight reading or whatever your version of it is. And during that time, why not adapt your orchestra the best you can to make them well suited for that rule system that's in place for the contest or evaluation. If you have a group that's struggling, or you have you have a program that does not have that history of success, a lot of times there are some exceptions that they can make. Here in Texas, you can apply for a waiver, and you can actually compete in a non-varsity status if approved. And if you've been going to contests and just not seeing a lot of success, then that might be a good option for you. The idea is that we're not just like kicking students and teachers to the curb here. We want to make them successful. And so what that waiver allows them to do is it lowers the requirement of the music, and of the sight reading. It doesn't lower the expectation as far as, we need to play in tune, we need to play musically, we need to have good tone, that kind of stuff. It doesn't affect that, but it does give them an opportunity to play easier music so that they can really demonstrate what they can do. And so that might be an option, but we can, if your orchestra does not qualify for that sort of waiver, you can pick some music that's kind of in the same vein where you're picking music that's going to be easier for your orchestra to play so that you can show off what they can do. If you've got a 6A varsity string orchestra and you get them on that waiver, well, they're going to have to play a grade 3, a grade 2, and then something, whatever their choice is, doesn't have to be on the list. Okay? If you have just a regular non-varsity orchestra, same requirement, grade 3, grade 2, something off the list. Sub-non-varsity, same deal. Sub-non-B, sub-non-C, go down the row. And sometimes, depending on the size of your program, you might have a class that kind of resembles more of a music therapy class than it does maybe an instrumental performance class. And, you've got students there that love to play, and, they love music, but it's definitely not their focus. And so, if you're thinking, well, do I even take these guys to contests? And, what if you take them to contests and they don't do well? Well, that's not good. Well, what if you leave them home and then, kids are pretty smart. They know why you didn't take them to contests, and they'll say, oh, maybe, we wouldn't have done well. But if you want to take them, there are some pieces out there, some grade 3s out there to meet that requirement and make it easier for you. And I wish I would have known about this when I first started teaching. I wish I would have had a list of grade 3s that were doable for your non-varsity, your sub-non-varsities, all those sort of groups, so that you got a group of students and you want to be successful, you want to give them music that's appropriate for that level, and boom, there it is. And I think that Gauntlet should be on that list for sure. Now, Gauntlet, according to Highland Etling, is a grade 2, but on the Texas PML, it's a grade 3. So this time, Texas rounded up a little bit. If you're not in Texas, your mileage may vary. Gauntlet is a pretty short piece. It's 2 minutes and 35 seconds if you go at the right tempo. It's thematic. There's a lot of recurring melodic material, and there's a cool little B section and a return to A. It's got a rounded binary, but the A section, when it comes back, it's developed, so it's got this first violin part that retains some of the qualities of the B section. It's good writing. The students love it. It's a lot of fun, and it's fairly accessible to the students. The first violins only play on the E string a little bit. There is quite a bit of half position stuff. I'm not saying there's no challenges in here at all. D minor can be kind of tricky. With D minor, sometimes the pitch can just go sideways. When you're playing in G major or D major, the pitches are going pretty well. E minor pitches are going fine, but then you switch to D minor, a flat key, and all of a sudden your pitch center can get all wonky. So that's something that you're going to have to address. But a lot of this stuff is pretty doable, and it's fun to play. In the next video, I'm going to go over some of the patterns that are used here in D minor. I'm going to go over some of the half position stuff and try to give you some strategies on how to get that done, how to get your students to play in tune and get comfortable with this D minor key. If you can do that, that's most of it right here. If you can get that, the rhythms are fairly simple. The style, they should be able to pick up fairly well, but once they get the pitch center, they can start feeling these phrases and shaping and really making this into an exciting work. So we'll see you in the next video.